I do apologize. Um, had a little longer supper than planned, but the kids enjoyed it, and that's what counts. Tomorrow's a very big day for the family here, so prayers for us, everybody. Long story short, I would like to bring up the subject of abuse. And I'm not talking about physical, where it's going to leave marks. I'm talking about the inside abuse, the long-term abuse, the most affected part of you and your well-being, verbal and emotional abuse. Because that's a real situation, and I know from experience, I myself have been a victim of physical, verbal, and emotional abuse. And majority of it my whole life, like from the time I was born until, well, about so many years ago. I would say about 11 years ago now, but it took all the way up until about 3 years ago for me to not allow the victimizer to hold that over me anymore. I overcame it finally, but at the cost of 7 years after I had already left him. Like, that's how much of a impact he had me with, and how much control he actually held over me, even not being with me. And it's a very, very traumatic thing. Let me tell you guys. I have DID, and that's where I've gained a personality, was from that relationship, because it's only something that you can have that that happens from traumatic experiences. And me, well, I had quite a few apparently in my life, but 5 being the worst number of ones that impacted me to a level of I had to lose or get lost. I don't even know what you would say. But long story short, my personalities each have a name. And 1 minute I could be okay, talking like this with you on a serious thing, and the next minute I might goof off. Next minute I might be mad, but it's not necessarily my fault. That's just them coming and going, which happens a lot. And so, that part being said, can't say that I didn't at least, inform you guys of that. I have been judged many times before in the past because of it. You guys wouldn't even begin to realize how many people have used it against me. And it's not even something that was my fault, like something I can't even control. Like, it's just my life. But instead of being scared and trying to hide it, now I'm trying to be open about it. And might as well learn to cope with it on a daily and make room for it in your life. Because, I mean, what would be the point of trying to hide stuff anymore? I went through 5 mental breakdowns, let me tell you. 5. And I'm proud of myself, because it's not easy for a lot of people to even come out of one, let alone for me to have 5. It was insane. I felt like a zombie because hold on, y'all, it's my child. Why, what's up?
What are you doing?
I'm getting ready for my stuff. What are you doing?
What are you doing? Sitting tonight.
Okay. Baby, I don't care. You know that. But anyways, give me that. I love you.
I love you.
All right. Well, anyways, apologies. I do apologize for that. That was my child. But long story short, as we were saying, it's very, very, very important that you do not try to diagnose yourselves by any means, that you will not think that it's just a thing, because at the end of the day, if you're in a severe case of mental health, then you need to stay with your medicines and the doctors and everything. I myself am learning, but I took myself away from it because going from one counselor to the next counselor to the therapist to the psychiatrist to that blah, 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 nonsense, it threw me around, and all I did was have to keep telling the same thing over and over. Not to the same person either. That's the fucking crazy part. Excuse my French, I am from a sailor family, just so they all know that. But long story short, when it all comes down to it, it was not effective for me, and all I did was give me pills and give me pills and give me pills. I was on 14 prescriptions a day. That's insane. Okay, like, it's crazy insane. And I'm only in my 30s, so this is crazy, crazy. I went cold turkey, which found out the hard way that's not a good idea, but I did it all cold turkey and got off like very, very strong opiates and benzos and all kinds of things, okay? Yeah, it wasn't easy, but we survived. Point blank, we survived. And I'm not going to suggest that route to nobody by any means. Don't be dumb like me is all I got to say. Because, let me tell you, definitely not worth the shenanigans it plays out to be. At the end of the day, this is all just accurate statements of my opinion only, not referenced and not, debated upon. Well, besides us over here, us crazy bitches always be debating about everything. But, excuse me. Long story short, just going through any type of abuse is not okay, but keeping quiet about it too is what you're doing to be the enabler about it. In order for it to cease, for you to get out, for you to find a safe haven, you've got to learn to speak up about it, because if you don't, it'll get worse and worse and worse. And some people don't even make it out at all. Some people don't know how to get out at all. And some people don't even know what domestic violence is, to be honest, because I didn't. When the cops used to try to, or the doctors at the hospital, they were like, try to get me to say that, he done that to me at that point in time. And I just lied because I didn't know. And I was like, no, he would never. And, well, let me tell you, I've been there. Definitely been there. Not once, but twice. And even a lucky number 3. Okay? And that's for each one. I had emotional abuse my whole life from my mom and my exes. I've had verbal abuse and physical abuse as well. I mean, I personally would not tolerate any of my children, and I do have 5. I would not tolerate anybody ever trying to hold control over any of my children like that. So help me, Lord, if I find out that to be true. Not for murder purposes, so that y'all know that, but because the children that I'm raising now, I'm very proud of them. They're strong-willed, and they actually are being taught to have a voice and opinion, to express themselves, and to always know that they'll never be forced to do anything that they're not comfortable doing. And they have a right to talk to me about everything. Even if it's dumb, I'm always here to listen to it, no matter what. And because of that, I legitimately have strong, boss-like little midget grown-ups, is what it feels like, with my mouth and my clever thoughts, but also with their beautiful brains and minds, and how they interpret is very amazing, because when I was their age, no, I just kept quiet. It just was easier to stay to myself in my own little world and not get involved in whatever, which 9 times out of 10 I was involved, because, Well, that's just how my mom liked to do it. Needless to say, it does impact you because in the long run, that's what I can say has happened from the get, which was that's why I was trying to push the skeletons back in my closet because I was embarrassed. Like, I didn't know, like, but to be completely clear and honest, or vice versa, or yada yada, whatever the case may be, always be open and honest no matter what. And like I said, it took me a long time to get to where I'm at now. It truly took me a long freaking time to get to this spot now. To have a backbone, to voice my opinion, to say no, to be stern when I put my foot down, and damn sure do not please people no more, on top of not being the doormat. I refuse to be a band-aid to somebody else because once that person's done with the band-aid, they're just going to toss it out. Think of it like that. So at the end of the day, let go, accept, and appreciate. And that's literally the main key to everything. And don't rush it because, granted, tomorrow may not be promised and time may not wait for nobody, but at the end of the day, we're supposed to live for the moment. Not yesterday, not tomorrow, but for today. So just complete what you have for that day and just keep it focused on that. And I think, honestly, it would be more positive. Like, the saddest thing is knowing that abuse goes so many different forms and ways, and people don't even understand or recognize it. But like racism to me is a form of abuse. Being racist is an abusive thing, and my family, it just they people amaze me. And I'm not talking about all of my family. I'm just talking about certain members, because they know who they are. But needless to say, I like being the black sheep in my family, and I like educating that there's no such thing as racism or colored skin in my eyes at all, because we all bleed the same color too. We all die the same, get buried the same. Die the same meaning like we're either cremated, buried, vice versa. Like, all of it is what I meant. But we bleed the same, we die the same, we get judged the same, and all by the same being. So in reality, nobody's getting out of nothing, and there's no extra privileges right there. Like, literally, like, well, I've raised my kids to know that there's no such thing as color. I've raised my kids to know that there's no, like, to be more open-minded and non-judgmental, and to be understanding but not naive. There's another good way to put that. At the end of the day, I literally, there's just a lot of things I wish for this world, but I mean, that's one person's wish against all of humanity. But I do wish that one time that things wouldn't be so nonchalant on the news. Like, it's insane. If you don't like another legislation's party, if you don't like the fact that somebody turned themselves from a boy to a girl, if you don't like the fact that somebody decided to date another man or another chick, come on now. That's none of your business. What's it to you? Like, what is it to you? I need to know, like, to people's skin color. What's it to you? If it's not your skin color, then why does it fucking bother you? If it's not your race, don't let it bother you. If it's not your neighborhood, don't let it bother you. If it's none of the above, just shut the F up and don't let it fucking bother you. Just let it go. Like Elsa said from Frozen, let it go. Point blank. Let that motherfucking shit go. But a lot of you can't, and you refuse to. And that's the sad part. And let me tell you something. I'm a white chick. was raised in the ghetto, poor as fuck, was in a household where my mom didn't like to fucking put food in it half the time because she was selling the fucking food stamps. And I'm talking about the old school paper, like form one. And they gave you books of them. Well, she liked to sell that for drugs. So, of course, we didn't have food, or she wouldn't pay the bills because, well, more drugs. So, of course, we would be without power, or God knows, sometimes without rent being paid. But it is what it is. I'm a white chick with buck teeth. I'm the only girl in a family of boys. I don't have any family members really too close to me. Like, both my parents are dead. All their parents are gone. My little brother's gone. My twin brother doesn't live in this state. And my big brother also lives across the country, which is way up by Alaska. So, needless to say, yeah. And all I have mostly is my kids, my husband, and my animals, my personalities, and a few good people from time to time to actually laugh with. But at the end of the day, if it doesn't concern you and it doesn't have nothing to do with anything and about your life, like, well, per se, I want to say if it's not paying your bills, putting food in your belly, keeping that gas in that car, or holding that job down, it ain't nothing but a fucking thing, and it shouldn't even concern you, especially if your name ain't even brought in on it. What's that called? Stay in your lane, Felicia. Bye. Toot toot. Just too many opinions build up on certain factors, and then that's what creates this whole ruckus, and everybody else has to put their 2 cents in, and God forbid if, Jake swerves in Felicia's lane, Felicia's going to want to bump back to get him back in his lane, and you know what happens after that. It's going to be a pileup, and then just too much extra. And I mean, seriously, why can't everybody just fucking just chill? I personally smoke daily. Adamant, love it to be exact. Firm believer, but at the end of the day, it's not as like a party thing. I literally I've been made benefits from the medical purpose of it, and so is my son, who's also autistic. And I just think that it's misconstrued about itself, but God gave it to us, literally. And if you guys don't want to see that point, then that's on you. I'm not making nobody do anything, but at the end of the day, just know that in Genesis, what verse was that? I think it was Genesis 2:29 or 6:29. Quote that, just read it and you'll find out what it says about herbs. But long story short, so I just appreciate the things that I've learned along the way and encourage others to just talk it out. Even if you just ramble and you don't make that talk like, well, we do have time. But at the end of the day, I was in a very dark place that almost took my own life when I was pregnant with my last child. And that would have been a selfish act on my part because, well, he didn't ask for that. And, well, he wasn't forcing me to make him be here either, but I don't want to inflict that type of hurt like my brother had on me on anybody else, and I don't want them to be stuck with the why questions either, or what ifs. So naturally, even if you think it's not worth it, or anybody's listening, or whatever you may think, I just ramble on because it's a way for me to vent and hopefully encourage others that just whatever you try, intentions that you have with it will purify the entire aspect of you making it for yourself. Even if I don't like, if nobody says to stay on here and listen with me, at least I'm talking and at least I'm getting it out and at least I'm like, at least it's being expressed. I have a huge issue with expressing my emotions in verbal conversations because I don't know why, but I just know that it's hard and I get stuck. Like, I can have it all mapped out and I can recite the whole thing in my head like a billion times, but at the end of the day, let that camera hit me and see if I don't freeze. Whoop, like a deer in headlights. So at the end of the day, I just think that it's very critical that you always talk it out, whether you put it in a poem, whether you write it in a book, whether you, because I write journals too, and I'm talking about I have billions of them. And let me tell you, if I go back to, let's say, 3 years from now, I'm going to read that article on this day from that time and be like, what the fuck was you thinking? What? Shut the fuck up, bitch. Pew! And probably smack myself because I'm not going to remember, or I'm not even going to have too much of how I felt then acknowledged unless it was a very good memory, because at the end of the day, I don't try to be in a negative mood and I don't try to dwell on bad things in the past too much. I like to keep moving forward. There's a reason why it's called a rearview mirror, and that's because that's where the things behind us are meant to stay. I mean, it's good to go back on a memory from time to time, but not treat it as if it's a cherished one. And, well, in reality, I personally think that it's essential to voice it out. Like with my journals, like I was trying to tell you guys, I do apologize. My journals legitimately help me get it out in a way. To me, even if I get done and the whole thing's filled up, I just throw it off to the side in the pile with the other ones, because that was a form of me getting it out. And once I close that book, it's closed. It's that once the book is completed and put in the pile, that's another chapter down in my life story that one day my kids can read. It might scare them. It might hurt them. It might make them cry because of the things that they will read that I've put myself through. But hopefully they'll use it like a tool or knowledge of how to identify narcissists, habitual liars, abusers, victimizers, all of the above, anything in that category in itself. The Poor Pity Me Project acts, and so forth. Like, you've got to learn to love yourself in order for you to love somebody else. And that is my biggest belief, is that, because my biggest mistake when I was younger was I was in love with the idea of love, and I was just trying to find a quick way out, and I did, into the wrong aspect. And let me tell you, just because money is nice, and maybe it can buy happiness for some people, but for other people like me, it just was, it costed you. It was a cost behind closed doors. And I would rather teach my children to be aware than to be oblivious. Come on. Do. Man. But apart from everything else, in my personal, most personal, absolute opinion, even another trick I can try to, suggest would be how I started doing this for myself on the reels. How I truly started doing this was I did it in the bathroom mirror. I would talk to myself, reflection, and but at an angle, like I wasn't standing and whatever. I can see the reflection in the mirror being whatever it was, but I could see the mirror and talk, and it was like I was listening to myself talk. Maybe I need to practice the face-to-face mirror part because, well, maybe that might help me with the live part where I can be on videos. Because let me tell you, I'm not too big or keen on the aspect of being on camera, like in the spotlight. Like I'd rather be the background, like somebody that's hosting, but like a silent host. Someone that's like an investor, but a silent investor that, does all these little gift like donations, but not recognized, outspokenly recognized for it. It goes along with that saying that I like. I would rather help somebody fix their crown and get back on track than to be announced that I've done it, because people can talk, but it's about the walk. So if you're going to talk, at least prove it with the walk. And it's always essential to seek help, to, even if you can't, whatever it is, don't feel guilty either. Because I felt guilty. Sometimes I still do. I ain't even gonna lie. I still feel guilty all the time, half the time. And feel bad and wonder, oh my God, maybe I was just overreacting. Or, oh my God, is it really, like, look at them. They look so sad. Like, the guilt is part of their game. The more you feed into their shenanigans, the more you're slipping back into their control. And the more they can control you, their power will stay strong. The more you show that nobody controls you but you, they don't have any power. And all the way up until about 3 years ago, and this ain't no joke, 3 years. It took me 3 years ago, so that would be, I was 35 years old when I finally decided to grow a backbone, finally start thinking about what I like, start learning what I like, start learning what I wanted to do, what I like to do. And to enjoy myself, to love myself. You know how hard it has been to love myself? It took, 3 years now. And I'm still going about it. So, I didn't even love anything except for the idea of love itself, because I was that naive and dumb and, special for her. But in reality, I just wanted it to make my situations better. And I thought that running away and getting something different was going to make it better. And, it did, but at a different cost each time. So, in reality, if you want to know what is the most essential way to get it done for yourself, that's up to you. That's for you to learn. Like, everybody has to learn. I'm only here for tips and tricks and ideas and suggestions and maybe a little bit of advice. In regards to everything. So if you think it's a bad situation for you, seek help, professional. Please do not hesitate. If you think that it's just then you might be lucky enough to be like myself. And it takes a lot of mental strength. And let me tell you, I have to do a lot of brain exercises where I have to work with my mental state. And in order for me to keep like becoming more stronger mentally wise, I feel like, in my opinion, that is, it's more essential to go through things by yourself because the experience comes from the courage. And with that part being said, what I mean is you've got to be willing. And once you get past that and you start having that endurance, that determination, with pain comes strength. I mean, you have to break a glow stick in order for it to glow, right? That's how things work. Sometimes people have to be broke in order to rebuild and shape themselves into the legend or the boss, the inspiration that somebody else could use in their story tomorrow. You never know. So if you want to be a part of that, you've got to do it by yourself, but you've got to do it in a way that you strip yourself and you feel bare. And then you pick yourself up back from there, but only this time you're picking up the pieces that are essential and necessary to keep along your journey. That's how I see it. My defense mechanisms have always been like positive Polly, and I had behind a mask, and there was always a smile, and it was always like I would drop everything to be there for everybody. That's not even a joke. I've given the shirt off my back in the middle of a busy highway. This girl was getting beat up by her old man, and finally, the officers finally did show up on the scene, and they apprehended him and so forth. But in the end, she was standing in shredded clothes, beat up, blood, crying, and I just remember taking off my shirt and giving it to her because poor thing was already mortified, And needless to say, I wasn't working on me then. But it's like I was watching myself, but this time somebody was there to help, And I know it wasn't me, but just PTSD, and like I can't stand any type of uprising, like any type of ruckus, any type of fighting, arguments, any type of uneasy like situations triggers any of my memories, and I freeze. And of course I relive it just in my head, and I'm learning to work on that part. But the nightmares, I don't know if they'll ever go away. Eventually I think they might. Who knows? I might get them too high one night and they might want to move away. That would be something else. But in reasonings that you feel like you can do it by yourself, I encourage, only because in my opinion it worked, and I got burnt only to rise from those ashes as a great, beautiful, strong, bright phoenix, as I like to think of it. And can't nobody stop me this time. Can't nobody tell me otherwise. Can't nobody try to dictate. Like, I own me. I own myself. And I have a voice. I'm allowed to speak my opinion. and criticisms don't affect me. Like, if somebody says, oh, yeah, I don't like listening to her, I don't really care. It's not going to make me lose sleep. I'm not going to bat an eyelash over it, and I'm dang sure not going to dwell on it, because at the end of the day, people are allowed to have opinions, and they're not going to affect me to the extent of my life. And I'm going to let my life get ruined because somebody said something, oh my God, in their opinion. Well, it is what it is at that point. I mean, life goes on. I assure everybody. I do appreciate those of you that have stuck it out, listened, and I do appreciate the fact that you even took time to even scroll. I know that sounds crazy, but in reality, I think that this is going to be an personal journey that, who knows, might help me complete my healing one day. I send much mad love to everybody, and I hope that your guys' evening is more than amazingly awesome.